second city, Basra. There were continual artillery strikes through much of the night. At this hour, U.S. forces are arrayed in front of me, British forces on this side, large armored columns standing by, ready to go, as they continue to probe and parry the Iraqi defensive line. We expect to see the main armored battle occur here in the next several hours. Dan?
Scott Pelley reporting live from right along the Kuwait-Iraqi border. In the general direction of Basra. CBS's John Roberts is with an advanced reconnaissance unit of the 1st U.S. Marine Division, which is very close to the border with Iraq. He joins us by telephone. John, what's been happening there? What can you tell us?
Well, Dan, first of all, I have to take a moment to walk back what we said a little earlier. We had taken a meandering route along the border, and our escort thought that we had actually crossed into the very southernmost portion of Iraq. But in fact, we were still in Kuwait. From my vantage point, Dan, you can see that the night sky filled with bombs bursting, the flashes of artillery fire as they engage in what's called preparatory fire for the main invasion, which would come probably sometime within the next 48 hours or so, I would imagine, if not sooner than that. It's difficult to assess what's going on the ground right now, other than they have moved from their staging positions up much closer to the border now, and certainly, Dan, it seems as though something is coming soon.
John Roberts reporting live with the 1st Marine Division. As he pointed out, it's a reconnaissance unit, and they've been sort of weaving back and forth as best he can make it out, right there along the Kuwaiti border with Iraq. During the run-up to this war, while U.S. troops were training for battle in Kuwait, we heard it many times. What worried many soldiers most was an Iraqi gas attack. And while there is no evidence any such weapons have yet been fired, CBS's Byron Pitts, who was with us a few minutes ago, was forced to run into a bunker again as sirens sounded. He did file this report on a day and night filled with gas attack fears.
Dan, tonight we've been ordered to wear these chemical suits, gas masks at the ready. For Marines at this secret U.S. airbase near Iraq, the war started with a siren. Everyone ran, from reporters to Marines. The first taste of war was sweat, and it was our own.
Alarm black just came down, which means either A, there's something already here, or B, something's on its way.
There was confusion, but never panic. Was it a chemical attack or simply a bomb? The assumption was assume the worst, and the worst meant alert level black.
When the order came to go in full mob gear, everyone ran to this cement bunker. On our way here, I could hear 2 explosions. At this point, everyone's been ordered in their mob gear, just in case as a precaution.
These Marines are from Camp Pendleton, California, a light attack helicopter squadron, HMLA 169, the Vipers. 3 times a bomb exploded in the vicinity. 3 times we ran.
Keep your gear next to you.
Soon, complacency replaced concern. But minutes later, Marines moved towards their machines, Cobras and Hueys, pilots and mechanics. Saddam had attacked. It was time to respond.
Just keep thinking about what you're supposed to do, and you keep going over in your head what you have to do to make it right.
Got family back home?
Yeah, I got the wife and 3 kids.
And if they're watching?
I love them. I love them a lot, and that's about it.
Back live, we've just completed our 6th false alarm. As has been reported already, in the end, this will cause no great military consequence, but it is a tremendous inconvenience to the troops here. Many of these Marines, for instance, had to run some 200 yards from the flight line full tilt to the cement shelter, while the mechanics ran for cover. The pilots, the Cobra pilots and the Huey pilots, stayed with their aircraft just in case they had to move. Dan?
Byron Pitts with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force at a secret location along the Kuwaiti-Iraq border. Iraq this morning preempted the start of the U.S.-led ground war with an attack of its own, firing missiles into Kuwait. The barrage of about 8 missiles appeared to catch almost everyone by surprise, civilians and military. CBS's Mark Phillips is in Kuwait City.
Repeatedly throughout the day, air raid sirens wailed across Kuwait City. And in a place where 2/3 of the population is made up of foreign workers, not everyone was sure what to do or where to go.
The situation is quite tense, people are panicking anyway, and because of this alert that is going on.
Those who had them, mainly foreign news crews, donned gas masks and chemical weapon suits. Others filed into shelters. The streets emptied, people taking shelter where they could. And the fear was not confined to the city. Along the highway heading north toward Iraq, U.S. troops who now control the road went on full chemical alert.
Better safe than sorry, sir. That's not the kind of thing you want to play around with.
And all the training doesn't prepare you for the real thing.
Yes, sir. Scared and uncertain of what was going on. We didn't really know what to expect.
What was going on was the firing of as many as 8 missiles from Iraq, seemingly toward U.S. and British troop concentrations in Kuwait. At least one of those missiles was destroyed by a U.S. Patriot missile. Another landed close to the main U.S. Marine formation. While the missiles were first described by Kuwaiti authorities as Scuds, U.S. sources here describe them as a shorter-range missile, a hybrid that had been converted from ground-to-air to ground-to-ground use. This would fit the description of the Al-Samud 2 type, which uses an engine modified from the old Soviet SAM-2 anti-aircraft missile. Now, the type of missile that was used is significant. If, in fact, these were Scud missiles, then that would support the U.S. claim that Saddam has, in fact, been hiding weapons he's not supposed to possess. If, however, these were Al-Samud 2 missiles, the ones the UN has been destroying before they left, then this merely confirms what the inspectors knew, that they didn't get them all. Dan?
Mark Phillips reporting live from Kuwait. One of the very few Western reporters writing out this war in Baghdad is David Chater of our CBS News affiliated Britain's Sky News channel. A short time ago, he filed this report.
Just before dawn was breaking, it was still dark and heavy leaden sky. We heard jets overhead. We ran to our positions on the balcony and we could see flashes of light, tracer fire, and then a lot of ack fire started going up. Tracer ack fire. I heard strike after strike, bomb after bomb, I assumed they were, but I couldn't see them. All I knew was that something was happening, but not the huge shock and awe, not the huge number of cruise missiles that we expected to hit the command and control centers here in Baghdad. That was the first indication that this was something very different. If the Americans can take full advantage of this, they can keep this story going, it could be much more effective than any weaponry, any artillery they've got, because it will undermine the regime itself. This is what they're attempting to do. They want them essentially to go back to their barracks. They want them to give some sort of visible sign they're not going to attack the invading force. And now if they're a brigade of tanks, they should turn those tank turrets around, facing away from the possible invasion route. And that would be a signal from the jets, the American strike jets overhead, that they were indeed surrendering or weren't intending to fight. I was allowed to speak to the ordinary people here. They didn't take to the bomb shelters last night. They were still defiant. They're still backing their president. They still think he's alive, and they are determined to fight the American aggressors.
That was David Chater of CBS News affiliated Sky News channel reporting from Baghdad, and we give him a tip of the cover for his bravery. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, he was shown on Iraqi television overnight and again today, but is this really Saddam Hussein? The FBI today issued a worldwide alert for this man, 27-year-old Adnan El-Shukri Juma. He's said to be an Al-Qaeda foot soldier who may be planning an attack inside the U.S. The FBI says he attended the same flight school as Takarius Moussaoui, who's awaiting trial in connection with the 9/11 attacks and is now believed to have been piloting a second wave of attacks on America. That was the intention, that's the belief. One of the goals of the U.S. invasion of Iraq is to kill or capture Saddam Hussein. He hasn't been captured, but the question hangs out there, is it possible that he's been killed? CBS News correspondent Jim Stewart in Washington has the latest on that. Jim, what have you found out?
Well, Dan, twice since the shooting started, the world has been shown videotape from Baghdad of a man who looks, acts, and talks like Saddam Hussein. But there's an ongoing debate within the Bush administration over whether this is actually the man himself or just a darn good imposter. Several hours after the first cruise missiles struck Baghdad late Wednesday, Iraqi television showed this tape of Hussein allegedly answering the challenge. He even made reference to the date to prove it was not an old videotape. But is it him? Veteran Hussein watchers were thrown by the thick glasses, the heaviness in the face, and the uncharacteristically narrow shoulders.
My initial reaction was, gee, that does not look like him.
Gerald Post created the CIA's Psychological Profile Unit and has studied Hussein intensely.
Either that was a really quite drawn and stressed out and puffy face from not getting very much sleep, Saddam, or it represented a double.
Iraqi defectors have long insisted that Hussein uses doubles to throw off his enemies and maintain an air of secrecy. The lookalikes reportedly had plastic surgery and were trained in the dictator's mannerisms, including the way he walks, even down to his facial tics. Over the years, the CIA has kept careful watch as well, from his first Gulf War days of usually wearing a uniform to the more presidential Hussein, usually seen in business suits and matching ties. A German forensic pathologist studied hundreds of Hussein photos and videotapes, concentrating on his mustache and eyebrow measurements. Then he used computer software to locate specific points such as the tip of his nose and the cheekbone, creating a facial print which was compared to the Hussein photographs. His conclusion that there are 4 Hussein impersonators, all with small, distinct differences. Now, interestingly, the German pathologist reportedly has carefully examined these latest tapes from Baghdad and concluded that this is the real Hussein. The truth, obviously, is hiding somewhere in Baghdad. Dan?
Jim Stewart reporting live from Washington. Still ahead on the CBS Evening News. Concern and pride on the home front for loved ones now fighting to make Iraq free of Saddam.
In my 30s, I tried many things for my headaches. Then I turned to Bayer aspirin and the pain went away. In my 40s, I started getting bad back pain and Bayer came through again. Now I have arthritis in my knees and I still depend on Bayer. Bayer goes to work right at the site of pain and inflammation. Nothing's proven to work better. For relief I can always count on, there's still no better choice than Bayer. And aspirin is the only pain reliever that can help save your life.
Bayer. Take it for pain, take it for life.
That was me. What a stiff. Back then, my achy joints made it hard for me to get around. So I tried OsteoBiflex. OsteoBiflex has helped so many renew their joints and their lives. You see, it's not temporary relief. It safely lubricates joints and rebuilds cartilage. So over time, you're more flexible and comfortable. OsteoBiflex from Rexall. Put some life back in your joints.
And now by the authority vested
So young, naive. I bet they don't have a clue.
Or that insurance.
What insurance? The one that pays you cash if you're sick and can't work. What one's that? The name is...
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
For years, we made excuses not to take fiber for regularity.
Mixing an extra drink that's gloppy and can cause excess gas.
Now there's something different.
New Clear Mix from Citruscell.
Unflavored fiber specially designed to mix completely into your favorite drink.
Like the juice you drink anyway.
So now it's easy to take fiber the way you like.
And the fiber in Clear Mix won't cause excess gas.
At last, fiber we don't mind taking.
New Clear Mix from Citruscell. Unflavored fiber you mix in whatever drink you like.
When you run a restaurant, you're only serving one thing. Taste. That's why I use Equal. There's no aftertaste like with some sweeteners. You like rich, creamy cheesecake? I make it with Equal. I love it. 0-calorie Equal. Have you tried it lately?
In the war with Iraq, you can see and feel the concern for the U.S. forces deployed over there among the families they left behind in places such as Fort Campbell, Kentucky. CBS's Bob McNamara is there.
War's beginning brought a rush of fear to this army town.
We all realize it's real and that we have no control over what goes on.
23, 57.
While life is usually by the numbers and by the book, war is a wild card.
No sleep. a lot of explaining to the kids to do. That Daddy's not going to come home as soon as maybe we thought he would.
Cheryl Snap keeps her husband Frank close.
Well, I have his dog tags that he gave me. He had these made for me to keep with me and close as a reminder.
With 19,000 of Fort Campbell's airborne troops in the war zone, reservists are arriving here for processing, like the medical attention necessary for them to join the fighting. Rick Mullins is one of 7 Tennessee reservists headed for the war zone with their sons. He promised his wife their son Jeff would come home, even if it meant giving his own life.
I'll guarantee you, no question, in my mind, he'll come home before I will if I have to. If I got anything to say about it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Dozens of soldiers were married by Judge Steve Tribble just before they left for the Gulf.
It was a hectic day. It was wild.
His fear is some of those names could appear on casualty lists.
Absolutely. And I mean, there may be several of them that don't come back.
This was one of his patches, and I had kept it with me all this time.
Seamstress Marilyn Fry's brother was killed in the Gulf War. Now she works 12 hours a day, sewing airborne patches to uniforms for another desert conflict.
We never got to say goodbye, but, you know, you get over it. I mean, you actually never get over it, but you deal with it.
Marilyn Fry has sewn thousands of these flags on uniforms lately. And like many here tonight, she is hoping and praying that the men and women who wear them will come back to Fort Campbell alive. Dan?
Bob McNamara reporting live from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We will have more CBS News in a moment, so stay here with us.
Some mornings I was so constipated I could hardly make my deliveries. This war.
We'll have live, comprehensive coverage and analysis of the conflict with Iraq tomorrow on The Early Show.
Updating you now on Operation Iraqi Freedom. Some U.S. ground forces are now inside Iraq, but the main invasion attack has not yet begun. Government buildings in Baghdad were hit and set afire by U.S. cruise missiles in an attack today. Iraq says Saddam Hussein is alive. The U.S. tried to kill him with an airstrike on a Baghdad bunker. But was that Saddam on Iraqi television early today, or a double? That question's still unanswered, although most analysis point to it probably is him. And that's part of our world. For those of you watching college basketball here on CBS tonight, CBS News will bring you updates on the war during the basketball, and if developments warrant, we'll return to continuous coverage. If news breaks out, we'll break in. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you as we go.
This is...
Thanks, East Tennessee. We've done it again.